thought we should make it rather than a lecture. We should make it into some kind of interactive workshop. And I would highly appreciate, I would like to actually mention Rabbi for contacting me and trying to set this up. It's been a while, we're trying to put this together, and we might continue depending on how much interest is there and if we see it's needed more, because if you guys don't argue that much, so there's nothing to talk about. But if you argue, we could argue about the next session too.
Already has been few talks on it. Has somebody talked to it?
Okay, if you don't mind to hand the vignettes out. Okay, until it comes to your hand, I have a vignette here. You go right into some kind of a scenario. Let's see, how do you understand the scenario? What do you think about it? You're going to try to get it to dissect it, to analyze it. It's a very simple vignette, but there are many lessons that you could learn from this vignette. So if everyone would have any kind of pen or pencils, I forgot to mention. Rabbi Shuman, if people need pen or pencils, do we have here extra? If not, for next time. I forgot to mention. Okay, just take mental note. I would like you to underline in your brain or highlight which are the points that you think would need some kind of a modification in this vignette. Let's read the vignette together if you have the papers. Husband and wife are in Home Depot. We chose Home Depot because I'm a man, I love Home Depot. And if it's a lady, I would say Ross. Shopping for a widget for the broken thingamajig. Something. They're taking advantage of the errand to spend a bit of quality time together. Truth be told, husband is enjoying the outing a bit more than wife, since he's interested in looking at some of the items in the store and she isn't. I guess men would agree to that. Nonetheless, wife likes strolling up and down the aisles just to have a pleasant break in her routine and be alone with her husband. Finally, they come to the widget aisle where they pause to select the proper size and the style widget for their needs. They just need something. Actually, husband is pausing to make this selection. Wife is feeling impatient with the process and would like to move on. Finally, in exasperation over how long it is taking her husband to make this choice, she bursts out. This isn't rocket science. Just pick one already. Feeling insulted and embarrassed, he's sure that the people further down the aisle have overheard his wife's remark. Husband is no longer in a pleasant mood. He grabs both widgets, heads to the cashier, and without saying a further word to wife, heads toward the car. Wife, feeling mistreated, tries to remedy the situation by educating husband. A little oversensitive, aren't you? She begins. Somehow this doesn't achieve the desired results. Noticing she isn't getting anywhere, she tries harder. Can't I say anything to you? Is everything such a big deal? You're going to stop talking to me because I ask you to hurry up? Do I have to tiptoe around you and think through every little word I utter? Well, let me tell you something. I'm not about to do that. You need to grow up. By this time, they are in the car together, heading for home. The evening is ruined. I think this is not typical. No one experiences kind of, right? I'm in the wrong crowd. If you look at the vignette, everyone I'm sure has ideas, emotions, we could have a little laughter. But let's do a surgery, because the words were carefully chosen over here. If you want to look at it and you want to point out which items, which sentences, which words, which tone of voice, what caused trouble or troubles? What exacerbated the situation? And what could have been done? What would have been proper? I would like to give it a little bit of thought. Look there, and we're going to discuss this together. Trying to understand both sides. And as we go through, we're going to come up with some kelalim, some general rules of how to express ourselves, what to do in these kind of situations. I here used the wife as someone who is, so to speak, stepping on her husband's toes, but generally speaking, I come across in my practice the other way. I have about 60-70% men who take the role over here, and the wives would be the other, but wives have their own challenges too, another way. So I wanted to make it par, so I did it in this way so everyone would think in an objective way. So anyone has an idea what happened over here? What caused the trouble? What was going on? Anything. Let me hear from the audience. What do you think was happening over here?
She screamed on him.
She screamed on him. That's beautiful. You heard? She screamed on him. We're going to come back to that. Okay?
She lost her patience.
She lost her patience.
She provokes him.
She provokes him. Let me go to the first one. You said she screamed at him. Isn't that beautiful? Where did you see the scream? She burst out. She burst out. Someone could burst out like this. Why is it taking you so much? Is that scream?
No.
That's not the scream. What do you call it a scream? Why did you call it a scream?
Because down the air, he saw that everyone was
Beautiful.
looking at him.
Beautiful.
He was embarrassed.
Because we read over here that he was sure people down the aisle heard what she's saying. But notice that I wrote, he is sure that people down the aisle heard what the wife was saying. Not necessarily if anyone heard it. That was his impression. But you also got that message, and I'm sure some others. One of the first messages I want to bring out over here is that when you said she screamed, I didn't use the word scream over here. It could be that there are some others like you, that they heard the wife screaming. I felt it too. But there are others who didn't feel the wife screaming, as I explained to you, that she could be speaking in a whisper, but as you say the word bursting out. Why is it taking you so long? Come on, it's not rocket science. And that's not the screaming. And if the husband would say that, you screamed at me, she's going to have all this excuse in the world that, I never scream at you, and the argument's going to continue. Because what really happened was, you felt that she was screaming. So what's important to know is not the message that she was trying to give. The question is, which kind of feeling did you engender in the other party? What is your wife or husband feeling when you talk to them this way? The message sent is seldom the message received. If that's one thing you're going to take tonight, take this. The message sent is seldom the message received. What you say is not as important as what other person is understanding or hearing. And if you come and say that, that's how I talk.
Yeah.
He will understand, she will understand. It's not my fault, I didn't mean that. That's not relationship. It's important what the other party is hearing. You see, it used to be for credit cards that they would give you 7-day grace period until they would receive your payment. For example, 20th is the deadline to send in the payment for the bill. It used to be, I remember 7-8 years ago, easily, it was 20th, I would send the bill on the 21st, 22nd. By the next cutoff date, which was 7-8 days later, they would receive it in 2 to 3 days, even in the other side of the coast. There was no penalty, no finance charges, everything was fine. As long as by me their due date meant around the time that I feel comfortable may send in the payment. When the budget started to be constrained, he had the financial turndown and upheaval, so they started also to loosening the grip on the consumer's neck. So they came and said that we need to receive it by the 20th. That means if you go and you swear to every single creature in the world that I really sent it by the 20th, they don't care. We meant it should be on our desk by the 20th. So they don't care. When did you mail it? How did you mail it? You talked to the UPS guy, or you had someone in the USPS postal service was your friend. Did it reach my desk on the 20th? That's the deal. If not, not. So that's a bit harsh when you're dealing with the businesses out there. We are dealing with two people who have emotions and they have relationship. In relationship, it's the same deal, but not everyone is going to come and hold you responsible, but they do feel hurt. That means it's not important what you send out, at which date, by which kind of career. It's important when and how did the person receive it. So if they heard you screaming, even if you did not scream, the husband or the wife needs to be cognizant, careful, caring enough to be paying attention. You felt that I was screaming? I'm sorry for that. I didn't mean to. It's not that I didn't scream. It's you felt I'm screaming. And your emotions are important for me. Because we have a relationship. Because we have a relationship, what you understand from me is important. I'm just not going to brush it and say that, well, grow up. That's not what I meant. So one of the messages is a very important message. We are responsible for the way they understand us. Now, there is a very important aspect to that. What about if you're married to someone who's overly sensitive? What about if you're married to someone who grew up in kind of a family that in their family they spoke in a certain way? What about if I married to someone who has some kind of a trauma from childhood, that even if I speak by some benign words to her or him, these words mean they stir something in her spirit? Could I say I'm patur? It's no obligation for me. Why should I worry? But it's your problem. The question is, are we into a relationship or not? Are we in it to work it to have a loving, bonding kind of union? Are we here to come and say that it's business, take it or leave it? I hear that many times, unfortunately. Whenever I hear that, my heart goes out. I just heard it today. Just heard it today. If someone, it's not Jewish, so you would never hear that I'm talking and you would never know who it is, but I'll change the scenario. The husband was upset because the wife had treated her. It was in a kind of a mehmuni, some kind of a party, and she had mentioned something to the husband, and the husband was insulted. He didn't like it, but he kept it inside, didn't say anything. A few days later, something else happened, and that was the time that he retaliated subconsciously back to her. So they come in, and she starts talking about what is bothering her. And as we go into, suddenly he says that, I was hurt at you because the other day you said such a thing. At the beginning she said, no, I didn't say it. He said, yes, you said. Yeah. After a few minutes she said, yes, I said it, but I didn't say it the way you're describing it. You're exaggerating. He said, that's how I heard it, and that hurt me. At which point she said, you know what, that's my personality. Take it or leave it. So it will be very sad to hear that. We'll work with that wife, because the fact that she comes to a session, she comes to a third party to help her, that means she's committed to change. That means she's really looking forward. She doesn't know. But that mentality, she picked it up somewhere that, listen, that's how I am. That's how I am. And in relationships, it's not going to really get her anywhere. Because the husband also would feel the same way after a while. I mean, why would I need to work on myself to change my behavior? There are a number of things about my behavior that she doesn't like. If she says that that's how I am, so I'll be the way I am. And I didn't want to bring it up, but she's been really upset about one of his behaviors when he comes home, the way he sits in front of the TV and watches something for a few hours, and she's sick and tired of seeing him acting up that way. It's not respectful the way he comes home and just lays down on the couch. She's been telling him that, and all along he's been coming up with excuses, and one of the excuses was that, my father the whole time was like this, and my mom never complained about it. Meaning that this is ingrained in me, I'm used to this, and why do you want to change me? And she's saying, no, you need to change. If she wants change, she would be the first person that she would need to pay attention to make that change. So if you're in a relationship, we care about the other party, and if we care, we can't just come and say that, well, you better work on yourself to understand what I said. That's not what I meant. So thank you for that comment. You bring up a very important point that you said she was screaming. And what did you say?
She lost her patience.
She lost her patience. She lost her patience. She was in the Home Depot. This is not anywhere near like Neiman Marcus or other places that the ladies would enjoy just strolling down the aisle or spending more time. She can't wait until they get, I'm sick and tired of seeing the buckets of paint and all these gadgets. I have no idea how do they work. And even the smell of the place is disgusting to her. I mean, you go to Lomas, it smells good. Not this place, you see people walking up and down, some of them they're sweaty, and so she wants to get out. She's sick and tired. Let's get out. I spent time with you, I don't want to stand over here. But how did she say it? Which kind of wording did she use? What would have been better? Now that we are relaxed in our chairs and we are not in the heat of the moment, how do you think she could have expressed that?
I'm tired, can't we go home?
I'm tired, can we go home? Could you make it even better?
Would you please choose earlier?
Would you please choose earlier? Could you make it better?
I had a hard day. I can't wait any more longer.
Okay, I had a hard day, I can't wait any more longer.
Can I help you choose?
Can I help you choose? Oh, that's a little bit too man. You could say something along those lines. I'm looking for something.
Maybe she could leave and get a drink or something and then come back.
That's a great. Maybe she could leave and say. But how would you express it? I'm looking for something.
Would you? Could you?
Listen to this.
Please.
Listen to this.
Say, honey, can we go?
Thank you, honey. Yeah. Thank you. So we don't have to wait for Rosh Hashanah to give the apple in the honey. You could use the honey during the year too. You could say, sweetie, I'm a bit tired. Do you think you need more time? May I go to the car and wait for you? Or should I go by the counter? Or, honey, would you like to? I see that I know it's really hard to make a decision. There's so many choices. You could get confused. Would you like to maybe buy both of them and then return one of them? Or to say that, oh my dear, I'm kind of feel kind of rushed because I need to go home and put the kids to bed. Would you mind that we do this faster? What's the difference? Look, the way we were just right now saying, the difference was that the person started by some kind of a word that would diffuse the tension and show I'm not here to confront you. Conversational, not confrontational. It's conversation. It's not that. No, it's not confronting someone, putting someone on the spot that why is it taking you so long. It's not sound like criticizing. Honey, it's like I'm pleading. It's like I'm asking. It's like I'm asking for a favor. I'm respecting you. And then the tone of voice. It's not someone who's ordering someone else. It's not I need to tell you how to act or behave. I'm asking you permission. It's respectful. And pay attention to something else. When I was talking, you saw I was stuttering a bit. That stuttering is showing that you're thinking. You're just not rumbling out whatever comes to your mind. Because most of us are not so adept in choosing words that are the best possible, so to speak, remedy for that moment. If we use anything that comes to our mind, we usually not going to end up have many friends around us. So when you stutter, not only you have thought, you even give it more time. And the other party knows that you are trying, you're attempting to come across in a sensitive way. I remember the first time I saw this vividly, that it made an impression on me, was 1992. This goes back, how many years ago? 21 years ago. My first year in the yeshiva. Moshe means that Shalita should be healthy and healthy until 120 years. One of the mashgichim in the yeshiva. I remember that I had done something which was not appropriate. I was coming to the seder a bit late. Instead of being on time, I was a bit late. I had my reasons, excuses. I was getting there, instead of being 9, I was there 9:10, 9:15, 9:20, day there. So I see that he knows me. He comes over to me after it has happened a couple times, maybe a dozen times. So I see that he comes and he's acting in a way as if that he's embarrassed. He feels uncomfortable and says, Baruch, you might be busy. I'm sure with your wife. It's if you could, when you come to the seder, be on time. It's going to be a more gishmak learning. Your chavrusa wouldn't be. He even said it slower than this. I was looking at him, and I was surprised. I was used to back in Iran, the teachers in the school, they didn't speak like this. I mean, the ones who have had the privilege, like me going through the school system back in Iran, teachers talk a bit different than this. I mean, they would use the words like, how do you say aton in Farsi, aton of Bil'am. In Farsi there is a word for it. So they would say, I'm sorry, but Olaq, chara dir omadi? And that was a bit respectful because there were other words too they would have used. So I was used to that kind of mentality that your teacher, someone who is an authority figure, they do not have to respect you. They feel that they need to give you a piece of advice, they give you a piece of advice. This person was thinking not twice, 10 times before saying a word. And that was giving a message that I respect you. I'm very careful. I don't want to hurt you. I want to show you that you are an important mensch. You are a chashuv mensch. You are an important person in my eyes. And this is the most important in our relationships. We need to take time to express ourselves. We can't just rumble up. And if you're not sure what to say, don't say it. You've seen the cartoon Bambi, that the rabbit, when he said something was not nice and the other person asked him, what did your mommy tell you? He said that, my mommy said if you don't know what to say, don't say anything. Don't say anything. There is no chiyuv to talk. Sometimes we just say something because we have to say something. Take time and choose the words carefully because words are powerful. Words are powerful. And it's not a sho'ar. It's not just a lip service. When in Farsi we say, Beshid mefarma betamah. I mean, someone could say that in English. Sit down, sit down, sit down. All means the same thing. The difference is that one of them would find you a nice friend. One of them would maybe find you yeah, maybe a co-worker, and the other one, you would have an enemy. It's not a lip service, it does make a difference. People do feel a strong emotion, whether they're male or female, about the kind of words that you use. So choose your words wisely, give it time, think twice before saying it once. Let's look further. What else do you see over here? What else happened in this vignette?
There's no communication at all.
There's no communication at all. There we go, another thing. There was, so to speak, a silent treatment. The husband was upset with what the wife did, and he didn't talk, just went to the car. The wife felt, oh, there's a disconnection. She tried, so to speak, to connect back, which wasn't that much of a connection. So there was no communication. He wasn't talking over here at all. She was doing the talking. Okay, nice observation.
She jumped into a conclusion.
Which kind of conclusion? She jumped to conclusion. Which kind of conclusion?
Her impression was wrong with her impression.
What was her impression?
That he's upset or he's...
She was right in the impression that he was upset. That was the right impression. I mean, that's right. He is upset.
She went further with her comment.
She went further in her comment. What was she thinking?
But I don't know, she became defensive.
She became defensive. True. She became defensive. What was going in her mind? Try to put yourself in her shoes. When she got into the car and she started saying those sentences, what was she thinking?
She's not the one to blame.
She was trying to say that I'm not someone who's at fault. She's
Right.
trying to fix up the situation, so to
Right.
speak. She feels that something has happened. What does she say? A little oversensitive. What does that mean? She says that you have been hurt.
You're a kid.
You have been hurt, but you're a kid. I see that you're hurt. But if I acknowledge that you're hurt, that means I hurt you. If I acknowledge I hurt you, that means I'm at fault. If I'm at fault, it's Vavela. No, in order for me not to be at fault, it must be that I did not make a mistake. It must be what I said should not have hurt you. But if you feel hurt, it's your own fault. You are too oversensitive. So it's shifting the blame because it's hard. What could she have done?
Nothing. Just sit there silent.
Nothing would have been better than what she did.
Yeah.
If you want to go
Or
further,
apologize.
I'm really sorry.
how? What would she say? So tell me a sentence.
Forgive me.
She would say, I'm sorry, I'm impatient.
Say, forgive me. That's good. Make it better.
I don't want to underspect you. Sorry about this.
I'm sorry, I lost it. I'm tired.
Acknowledge his feelings.
It's simple. I'm sorry I lost it. I was tired. Okay. What you said is great. I would take the word I'm tired out. Why? Because what you're saying is true. But you're justifying, you're explaining yourself. You know the reason I did that? Because I'm tired. If I'm tired again, I might do the same thing again. Maybe we wouldn't justify it. You said that, honey, I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
I was impatient.
I was impatient with you. You could say that. I was impatient with you. I'm sorry. Say that and just leave it there. Let it sink. Let it go in. Maybe a few minutes later you could say that. You could explain that I was just rushed. I was thinking about the kids. Maybe I was just a bit tired, but it was not appropriate the way I treated you. I'm sorry. The point is that you want to let the other party know that they recognize I made a mistake. That's all. No fancy thing. But if I come and embellish with others, I was tired this morning, you have no idea what I've been doing, the kids, I have to wash, I have to go. If I come and say that, then I'm trying to minimize and say that, I'm not at fault too. But I want to take responsibility. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Maybe that. For us, it might be really hard, and if you find it hard, it could be our ego strength. Our ego, our self, we don't have enough strength in order to take responsibility for something. We feel broken. We feel shattered. If you come and tell someone, it was my fault, I'm sorry. Where could it come from? That goes back to self-awareness. That goes back to a very fundamental factor in any relationship, especially husband and wife. self-awareness. That how much we are aware of ourselves, our emotions, our feelings. How much tolerance do we have? Frustration tolerance. How much is it possible for us to be somewhat anxious, but still keep our composure? The self-awareness is something that doesn't come overnight. It takes a while. When people work on themselves with Musar, they go on personal development, they learn Sefarim books, they work on self-improvement. One of the main things that is happening is the person is getting to know themselves better. Where do I come from? If I pay attention and I see that in my childhood I come from a family that either my mom or my dad or both or a sibling or teachers or anyone that's my environment, I had people who were critical. I had people who pointed out to me my mistakes, who were perfectionists, who demanded too much from me. It could have happened once, twice, 10 times, or 20 times. I have been hurt. My ego has been shattered, crushed, humiliated a number of times. So in my subconscious, I'm already a wounded person. Due to not my fault. Due to not any fault of my own. But it's a reality, and I need to work on that. I will work on it. I will try to raise my self-esteem. I will try to understand my childhood experiences has shaped me, the way I feel, the way I act. But at the same time, I would understand that if at the time I made a mistake, I find it really hard to admit, it's not because the other party, it's because I have a hard time admitting. And it's okay. I would just recognize that, and I said that I would like to work on it. It takes a while for a person to understand by some kind of a planning, a program, how would I be able to learn to become stronger in admission? How is it possible for me to little by little understand that by going and talking about something that I've done wrong and trying to ask apology, I'm not turning myself into a doormat. What I'm doing is really considered to be gadlut, what we call it. It's considered to be a greatness of a person's personality. But it takes time and work, and it takes, most important, self-awareness. The self-awareness is the key. How much are we aware of our own emotions? Let me give you another small vignette. Husband and wife, at night, something happens, they get into some kind of argument or discussion, something very benign. Husband says something which is benign, and the wife takes it in a different way. She starts saying that, what do you mean by that? He starts fighting back. In 3 minutes, you have a full-blown argument, fighting. It's going to end up the night in a very bitter way. When you look at it, generally speaking, one of the things that's happening is that here you did not have two people arguing. You really had over here the wife looking at the husband and remembering her own father, remembering her own brother, remembering her own uncle or a teacher. It could be that when the wife responded, what the husband saw is his own mother, his own sister, his own teacher, his own whoever knew what from before that had some kind of an impression in her mind. So it comes out that they were not alone. They had a whole army around them. They were just invisible people floating around. And all it takes is just a word or two or a sentence in order to trigger that memory. That's all. It triggers the memory. Now she is looking at him, and it's all happening in the split of a second by total subconscious. She is not ever, even if you tell her, she's going to say, no way. She would swear it's not true. But we know it's true because it has been shown time and time and time again that we talk, act, react based on our subconscious. They did a research about advertising, and they based that research based on the famous episode back in, I think it was 1930s, that they found out when the movie theaters, 1930s, 1940s, movie theaters started becoming famous and becoming a popular thing. People would go for fun and leisure activities. And they saw that it used to be that a 2-hour movie would be cut into two sections, an hour, 5 or 10 minutes break, and then the rest of it. So they saw a phenomenon that in the break time, after the first hour, let's say you have about 400 people in the movie theater, 390 people walk up and they go line up in order to buy Coke. And they're wondering that, oh, what could it be? It could be that maybe the movies make people really thirsty. But why for Coke? They could buy 7-Up, they could buy, I don't know, water. There's so many other things. Why Coke? And they found out that there's a gimmick that within the frames, nowadays we see minimum of 30 frames per second. If it's high, if it's more, it used to be like 10 or 15 frames per second. Within those frames that you see 10 frames in a second, there is one frame that passes so fast that to a naked eye is not discernible. And it says, buy Coke! In 1/10 of a second. Buy Coke! No one understood, but the subconscious picked it up. They were looking at it, but they didn't see it, but they recorded it. And in their mind, they couldn't wait until they go outside. There's a subliminal message, go and buy Coke. And everyone's lining up to buy Coke. They banned it. It was considered to be a dishonest advertising because you're playing with someone's mind. If you really want them to buy Coke, just show it at the end for a few minutes, for seconds. People would know. That's what you want to tell them. That's a chokhmah of advertising. But something came out of that. That you see how we respond without recognizing what we have picked up. It's just right there in the back of our mind and we react upon it so clearly. So next time that something comes up, your spouse, your friend, or anyone would say something to you. Usually spouses are the best people to bring out the best in us. So they say something. Before you react, try to go deep and see, what does this mean to me? What does this mean to me? If I'm getting a message that this person is humiliating me by saying the word, you've got to do this, could it be that I heard those words, you've got to do this, from someone that humiliated me before? And now just that sentence or expression reminds me of a humiliation, and I right away automatically feel humiliated. That self-awareness goes a long way. That self-awareness would help us to understand where is it that you would need to modify our understanding of our relationship. There are many more points I have and I would like to share, but I don't want to bombard you or overwhelm you. I want you to take one message, a little bit with shach bag, as we said, with the branches that we covered, and try to put it into practice. And later, if there's interest, we could continue. I'm interested to hear your feedback, your questions.
I don't know what I missed, but it's interesting, you only analyze the woman's reaction. Why don't we talk about the man's reaction?
Great question. She says, why is it that we analyze a woman's reaction, not a man's reaction?
In this scenario.
In this scenario.
Yeah.
Very good. So, may I respond to it in a very friendly way? I know Giti Khanum very well, so I'm comfortable. So I'm going to tell you. So, when you say that, the message I'm hearing is that because this is just a vignette. And it's meant, as I said at the beginning, the role of the male or female could be interchangeable. All is important is the messages that we learn from here to correspond together. If you felt that here the lady, the woman, the female personality is the one who's being analyzed, not the male, it could be your understanding. I'm just giving you some kind of awareness. It could be that recently or a long time ago, you have been in some kind of a discussion, and it's not important if you were right or wrong. You were just in some kind of argument or a debate or dialogue. And when you went to a third party or the second party and you wanted to talk about it, you felt that you're the one who's being condemned. Because you had such an emotion, right now what you understood from is that we are only analyzing the lady. What what we're really doing, but we're just looking at how they're talking. It could have been the man. And I mentioned right at the beginning that usually 60 to 70%, the one who is a bit insensitive in expressing the words is the husband. This has been at least my experience. Ladies, they have their own things. They give nagama other ways to their husbands. But this scenario would have made more sense that the husband is the one who's being insensitive. I just said I changed it in order to neutralize it. But the message that you got, it just says something about the way you grasp that idea, the way you process it. And it's okay.
But
It
that's
is
what
just
we
a
talked
self-awareness.
about. We've been
What?
talking about what the women have done. Have we talked about what the man did? Was that
We
right
could
or
have just,
wrong?
yeah, we could have just switched this and
No,
it
in
would-
this scenario, the man being silent, was his behavior
aha,
right or
sorry,
wrong?
I misunderstood you.
That's
Okay,
what
so
I'm
I misunderstood.
saying. Can we
It could be that
analyze
right now it
that?
was my self-awareness. I was thinking about the last lady who was thinking, okay, I made a mistake. She's saying, why are we not analyzing what the man is doing over here? So I take my word back. It was
that's what
mine.
I'm saying.
Thank you so much. It was my own projection, as they say. My own projection.
In the right manner,
Yeah.
Or was
How the man-
better?
Thank you. Beautiful. How the man behaved or responded over here. The way he responded, was it appropriate? How would it have been appropriate? What was wrong about his behavior?
I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm asking you.
What was right about his behavior?
What is your impression?
I would tell you my impression. I would like to hear your feedback,
I think
your take.
he just have to finish that and say, and tell her, no, why did you talk to me like that? Maybe you could, I'm sorry if whatever, but you could talk nicely to me.
Okay.
Or just to be sorry, to say, oh, okay, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't pay attention, and maybe blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So you said that he could say that, oh, I'm sorry that I didn't pay attention. It's late for you, but why do you talk to me like this?
Yeah, communication.
Communication. Okay, great. So you're saying that this is one way that he should have talked, not to keep quiet like this. I would say, okay.
I have more of a question. Is he aware that she came just to spend time with him?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. She's asking, is he aware that she came to spend time with him? How could he know? Did she mention it? That's a
my
question.
follow-up.
So let's say that she had mentioned going out. You know, honey, I don't like Home Depot, but because you're going there, I would like to come with you and spend time with you. Then that would make a difference. Then actually it would be a more responsible behavior from his side to be more cognizant and aware that my wife is here just for me. She is not enjoying it. This is not like Disneyland for her, just to go around and have fun. She wants to spend time with me. If I'm focused on something else too much, she might feel left out. And what about if she didn't say? She just tag along.
I think that's where the frustration came in.
That could be when frustration comes in. Okay. What could she do?
Instead of blowing up like that,
Yeah.
I think all the other stuff you said before.
Other stuff.
And
So
then
that's
in the
it.
car maybe mention, like I came just, this wasn't my favorite place, but I'm glad I got to spend time with you.
Yes, beautiful. She could say in the car that, I wish I would have told you. I forgot to tell you that what I'm here for is really not that widget, it was you. I meant to spend time with you. I forgot to tell you. She could say that. But let's go, someone else had an idea about the husband. So let's look at the husband that did not talk. And you said that he should express and say that, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I think one of the best ways for the husband to express is to see how is he feeling and try to be in touch with his feelings. Some husbands might be more insulted than others. Some husbands might be that they have a tendency to be coiled inside and it will be very hard for them to say something nice. Maybe for them it might be a time to say that, honey, I feel hurt by what you said, but let's go to the car and we talk about it. I can't make a comment right now. If he feels overwhelmed, if he feels he can't say it. If he could say it, he could tell his wife that you could say that in a more sensitive way, please. It hurts me when you talk to me like that. The message is, as we have said before, I message. I message, not the I. You talk about yourself. You don't tell her that, which gonna be every reason, why do you talk like that? You always talk to me like that. No, say that, I feel hurt when you talk to me like that. I'm a bit sensitive when I hear this kind of remarks. You talk about yourself. That's one thing, rather than going ahead and accusing the other party. What else could he have said? There is one or two more options. There are one or two more. Because he said that, and we stop in 2 minutes. What other thing could he have said? From the men's section, maybe. What do you think would have been another appropriate way for him to answer?
This is the last time I'm taking you to
This is the last time I'm taking you to Home Depot. Very good. Next time I'll punish you, you've got to go to Macy's. With my credit card in your hand. Yes. So I guess for the husband, as I said, that he needs to pay attention to what is it inside him. If he feels like that, I'm sure that others have heard, it's good for him, in a nice way, not confrontational, and maybe not even there. Later in the car to say that, you know, I felt embarrassed. I felt others heard me. Rather than saying that everyone in the store heard what you said. Exaggerating, or I felt, and she could come and say that no one heard us. No, don't fight. He says that I felt others heard us. I felt embarrassed. She used to say, oh, I'm sorry. That must have been embarrassing. I didn't recognize. I'm sorry. Don't come to argue with the emotion that he has, because we can't argue with people's emotions. Emotions is not logic. Emotions, they do not need justification. Emotions are emotion. If you want to help your husband, your wife, not to feel embarrassed about something, you work with them in other occasions. Now that they do feel embarrassed, acknowledge this, I'm sorry, I'll be careful next time. I see you're sensitive, even if you're next to people that maybe they are not too close, and I think if I'm speaking in a low voice, they're not going to hear us, but you are sensitive. Even if we talk like that, you're sensitive. I'll pay attention to that. I'll make sure that if you're around people, I would use much more calculated words or expressions to share my feelings.
So basically you're saying that they should validate whatever you're feeling instead of saying like you have no right to feel that way, or...
Definitely. Thank you for the word. Validate the feeling. Validate the emotion. I finish with this. I always tell people that we don't need to be embarrassed of our emotions. Most of the emotions, generally. We don't need to be embarrassed. Some emotions we need to really curb them. But some emotions we could just express and not to feel embarrassed. Just because we have that emotion. So it means that if you feel embarrassed, if you feel hurt, you could just say, I'm embarrassed, I'm hurt. And no one is allowed to tell us that you shouldn't be embarrassed. You shouldn't be hurt. Why are you hurt? Emotion are emotion. You could tell them, why do you act like this? Or why do you say something based on the fact that you're hurt? The actions or the words that the person is going to use afterwards as a consequence or a reflect of what the person heard, that could be wrong. But just feeling what they're feeling is like you tell someone, a child comes in and tells, Mommy, I'm hungry. What do you mean you're hungry? You shouldn't be hungry. I'm hungry. Hunger is an emotion. I feel hungry. You know, you could tell the person, okay, if you're hungry, you could ask nicer. But we can't accuse someone because they're hungry. The same, I can't accuse someone because they felt embarrassed. I can't accuse someone because they felt hurt or they felt humiliated. That's what they were experienced. And we would need to take responsibility for it. Please let Yachad Koller, Rabbi Shumel and other Rabbanim know if you would like to continue. I heard from some people, they told me that they want this to be a series, but it all depends on how much interest there is and if Yachad's schedule would allow this. Thank you so much for coming. It was beautiful. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much everybody for coming. Rabbi Amiri, thank you for accepting our invitation and coming tonight. We enjoyed beautiful lecture. With Hashem, many people have asked to have a series. We were trying to do this a while before. We want to have a group